every day. She lets me know she does not like this mural, bro.
I've had
every day,
in the
right?
earlies.
Comes by. I think she just got up just to rain on my parade sometimes. I'm like,
But
yo,
she gave you permission. Did you
no,
have to do a
no,
sketch?
this wasn't even her wall.
Oh.
She's just mobbing by. Yo, she's just like, yeah, exactly.
One
so,
of those.
Yeah. And so I'm just like, all right, this is just what it is, right? So I finally finish. I'm proud. She comes by. This is terrible. You need to erase it. This looks like shit. Blah, blah, blah. Whoop-de-whoop. And so fast forward 10 years, almost 10 years later, I'm back at that same spot doing a new piece. And I see the same lady. This is wonderful. Oh my God, this is great. This is so much better than the crap that was there before.
It was your piece there before.
Yeah. And I didn't have the heart to tell. I was like, I'm the same person. But I was just like, thank you. I guess I got better, right?
Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk. Conversations from the heart, from the start we set apart. Art a la carte, now check it.
And welcome back to another episode of Urban Artist Talk. I'm your host, Andre Jamora, aka Natty Rebel. And today we have an amazing guest here on set. I was introduced to his work in San Francisco, 7-foot-tall mural, as well as pieces over in the African American Museum. Our guest is none other than Christopher Burch.
How you doing?
Welcome.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Absolute pleasure.
We couldn't wait to have you here in the space. So many people were just excited and just like, wow, how did you get Goya Goon to come? I was just like, we just reached out to him on social media. I was just like, it's like his work is amazing. I know. I can't wait to find out more about it.
Right.
So how you doing, man?
I'm good. I'm here, excited. It's been a lovely time. And it's an honor. It's an honor. Like, y'all do amazing work as well. I'm a fan of what y'all do as well. And
thank you.
Yeah, what can I say? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man.
I'm more than happy to be here.
It was long overdue. I've been trying to connect with you. Even on a mural side, I was like, okay, we got to figure out when it's going to make sense. But now that we started the podcast, I was like, until we can connect on some art stuff, I was like, man, let's at least pick his brain and see what he's got going so we can hear his story.
Yeah.
So off the rip, I'm going to just start with, how do you identify?
Professional artist, maker, educator, storyteller. You know, a lot of hats, but they all move in the same direction and with the same intention.
Yeah. So do you feel that it's important to give power to the Black voice? I see a lot of your artwork in the representation of, Black imagery. How important is that to give voice to?
I can only speak for me.
Yeah.
Extremely important.
Yeah.
Extremely important. I'll have I've done murals and I talked to folks, and they let me know how important it is. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so I already know that the absence of representation produces damage in people's psyche.
Yeah.
You don't see yourself in the world.
Yeah.
You might not believe you exist.
Yeah.
So for me, it's something that's extremely important, and especially the public work.
Yeah.
Especially in the public sphere. Yeah.
When did you know that you wanted to be a professional artist?
When I first saw Santana's record cover of Braxis. Yeah.
It's always an album cover.
Yeah, it always. That was my first museum. My dad's record collection.
Yeah, man.
Was my first museum. And I spent hours, he would never let me put the record on.
Nah, you can't touch nothing.
And I couldn't touch anything that was put up.
Yeah.
But if he was out and it was already being played, I could look at the covers.
It's, just speaking to that, it was a whole different way of learning. I'm not opposed to, I'm just comparing and contrasting real quick. Like, we grew up in a generation where it was like, don't look, don't talk, just watch and study, which I feel is very valuable and missing today. But even nowadays, even with my children, everything is full engagement. You can touch it, be a part of it, interact with it. Because I feel like it was a void in my childhood. It was just more or less like sit back and watch. But I also feel like, it's something missing and something to be attributed to our parents for just making us like sit back and observe as those first initial steps.
Yeah. I mean, that's. I think we're telling on ourselves on which generation. Like my dad would say, if you ain't got
when we said album covers, I feel like we were already telling on ourselves.
Of course, like how many times have I heard, if you ain't got nothing smart to say, don't say anything, right?
Facts, though.
And it was more. It was in also too. I feel like the things that they had, it was more precious because they were more fragile, right? You get a scratch on your record, that record is no good.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like it's all digitized in his phone. It's in his case and
it's
and
safe,
things.
protected.
Yeah. No, the fidelity of a record could be destroyed,
Right.
if you don't treat it right. So therefore, it was almost an honor to put the record on the record player. It was almost like a rites of passage thing because it was so coveted. You know what I'm saying? Like this is your father's right. You don't touch these records.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If I catch you touching these
consequences.
Yeah. Because because I think how things were consumed changed.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm like, and I think
things are built more for engagement now.
Yeah. They're based around in the markets for that type of interaction.
Right.
Things are designed to take more. You know what I'm saying?
They're more disposable now.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you had to get your camera fixed. Now you just replace it.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And you have to go to somebody that knew how to fix a camera, that has been fixing cameras. Their father taught them how to fix a camera. Their grandfather has been working on cameras since cameras came out. You know what I'm saying? So
that guy doesn't
No,
exist
they don't.
anymore.
No, they don't. The specialized
His children work at Apple now.
and everything, like you were saying, everything is made to, if this component fails, you have to buy the whole thing over again. You know what I'm saying? So like you don't take your iPhone to the iPhone camera person.
Nah,
you just get the whole thing replaced now.
Yeah. Things are built that way.
Yeah.
What would you consider as your artistic background? Some of your inspirations that really motivated you to get to this point?
So my father's record collection. A lot of it was growing up. Specifically, it was comic books. Yeah. Comic strips. We get this St. Louis Post-Dispatch, and I would draw. Curtis and Calvin and Hobbes. That was my first. If I could get it.
Calvin and Hobbes was a serious motivation before I turned a certain age.
Calvin and Hobbes was real.
Bruh,
in my mind, I was
the
like
writing, the illustrations, the movement of the tiger.
Yeah.
It had all the components.
Yeah. So I would spend hours trying to get to look and draw, because it was like, how close can you replicate this image as a and so huge childhood influences. And then went to school, started looking at artwork throughout history, time, and seeing other influences. Came across Francisco Goya and just went really deep into that artist's repertoire.
Yeah.
And that's where the name Goya comes from within.
I was going to ask.
Yeah. the Goya Goon. And and I was attracted to Goya because he really captured the people's experiences at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And he really showed a lot of the hope, a lot of the joy, a lot of the fear, a lot of the anxiety within the human experience at that time.
Right.
And so he gave me a way to navigate even my own stories in a manner that made sense to me. Yeah.
Gave you a blueprint.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you where the name Goya Goon came from. So you gave a little... Yeah, how'd you put the two together, Goya and then the Goon?
So the Goon came because my dad gave all my brothers nicknames. Sometimes My little brother has like 9 nicknames. It seems like
He must be a
day,
character.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, every day they're all based off of physical characteristics, right? So like, even the nickname, he's low key roasting you. You know what I'm saying? Like, and having a great time. So he called me Gucci, and I'm not gonna tell you the other nicknames out the sake of my own self respect. So he called me Gucci, right? And so I was thinking like Goya Gucci. No, that doesn't. And then it's just like the play off of Gucci and Goon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, let's run with it. And this is like 2012, and didn't know that Instagram was going to be like how you market yourself, how you get your work out into the world. And I'm like, I guess I got to run with this name now.
So Instagram hits 2014. Goya Goon is the name that has stuck.
That's it. Yeah.
How do you navigate even people calling you Christopher? Because it was one of the questions I was going to even ask, like, do I call him Christopher? Do I call him Goya? You know, I feel like a lot of times, you know, we pick these alter egos or personifications of ourselves that can become realistic for the masses.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then for ourselves, you can also tell who's kind of like friend and family, and then who's kind of like a fan. Because if they're calling you by, like, you know, your personification, it's like, how well do you really know me?
Yeah.
But those people still have an intense love or connection to the work that personification has put out, or how they identify with that Goya Goon. Do you ever have trouble navigating between the personification?
Nah, because I just tell people call me Chris. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, don't call me Goya Goon in real life. Like, that's just something that's just there. You know what I'm saying? I don't invest that level of sincerity into an Instagram moniker.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, my work is my work. My work has been Chris before Goya Goon exists.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Well, I just kind of like, you know, I was like, hey, it sounds good.
Yeah.
But yeah. I don't call me Goya Goon. Like, just call me Chris. Call me Burch. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. Nah, because we're still based in reality. And reality is still very much concrete.
Very, very important.
Yeah.
In your artist statement, I want to quote it correctly. I saw that you wrote, "I create work that suspends disbelief."
Mm-hmm.
Can you elaborate on that?
That comes from the disbelief in the beauty of Blackness. Right? A lot of these social narratives are created to counteract the belief and the confidence within the Black psyche.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So my work is to suspend that disbelief, right? To force a belief, a realization, a reckoning, a confrontation of these ideas within the public sphere.
Yeah. No, and that's one thing that made me gravitate to your work right off the bat. When I saw your mural in San Francisco, the Tenderloin, Juniper Redding.
Yeah, Jupiter Redding. Yeah.
Jupiter.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I like Juniper though. I might use that. I like that.
Forgive me, Jupiter Redding. The piece spoke volumes. I didn't even know the name of the piece for months, but the actual imagery that you chose for that piece, and I read somewhere that you got to choose what you wanted when doing that mural, which is always a blessing, especially when doing public work. 7 stories high, which that piece is. But being able to see imagery that identifies the Black experience in so many facets, you know, not just, you know, by skin tone, but just showing the universe depicted in that piece, showed, you know, it gave light to, you know, creating, you know, to knocking that narrative of, you know, negativity around Black people. When you see the vast universe inside of that silhouetted person, but still see that African feature of the nose and the facial structure, it speaks volumes for anybody who's like, I don't like Black people. or Black people aren't as smart, or Black people, any negative connotation that you can come up with, when you look at that piece, it challenges that notion.
Mm-hmm.
It gives you something to think about. And for any little Black children like myself who got into public art because I didn't see myself represented, the first time I did see a Black muralist painting a Black, I was just like blown away to where I'm like, that's real?
Yeah, exactly.
You can do that? Not only just make a living off of doing it, but you can paint us big, positive, motivating.
Yeah.
I was my world was shattered. I grew up in that, public school system that told me that only kings were, European. There were, I didn't find out about African kings till college.
Mm-hmm.
So all the way through high school, it was just kind of like kings had to be fat, European men that fed their dog, the leftover scraps.
Right.
So to see those types of images like Jupiter Redding blow my mind to this day.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Jupiter Redding is that's my because we talk, that's my love letter to the L's.
Yeah.
To the Tenderloin. I lived at Turk and Leavenworth for 11 years, right across the street from where that mural is. And I used to look at that wall blank.
Wow.
For 11 years out my kitchen window.
Mad.
And something in me was like, I'm gonna paint that wall one day. So fast forward 11 years, I get the opportunity. And I wanted, of course, like, I wanted everything you said. The person encountering this particular piece at this particular corner in this particular neighborhood to encounter that idea, the beauty and power of our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And when I speak on humanity, I'm talking on a cosmic scale, because every element that exists on this planet was brought here by asteroid traveling through space. So we are literally the walking, living embodiment of the universe.
Indeed.
Right? And so, and I wanted to show that grandeur, that greatness, that depth of experience and being in a piece. So how do I do that? Right? Like that, I thought about it long enough. The universe was like, okay, you keep bugging me about this wall. let's see what we're gonna do. So now, what do I do with this, right? And so I'm reading and researching, and I come across Rumi, and he has this quote, and this is probably 2017. That this quote. And it goes, that I first discovered it. It goes, stop acting so small. You are the universe in a static motion. Okay, component one. That has me thinking, right? You are the universe in a static motion. And then it's the other component is Sun Ra. If you're not a myth, whose reality are you? You know what I'm saying? If you don't create your reality, then you're a part of somebody else's reality.
Point blank.
Yeah, like, so those are the two keys. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, the living embodiment of the universe as a Black person, or a Black person is a living embodiment of the universe. Portrait. That's it. That's my love letter to the L's. It's not heavy-handed. It's poetic, and it holds you in that space.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's really what I wanted, because there's so many things that happen in our day-to-day where we can forget that truth. You know what so Jupiter Redding. The full title in my partner Maya is always like, you always make these long titles.
Give it to us.
Yo, because it's Jupiter Redding returned, endowed with everything this world denied them.
Wow.
So it's a return story.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying? So it's so
Sankofa.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's in my mind, it's this particular character left, gathered what they needed to gather. You know, almost like when Jimi Hendrix said, "It's about this boy that leaves town, goes off to be a magic boy." You know what I'm saying? Comes back, and then you know what I'm saying? And then so it's like but it's also that title is also connected to an entire legacy of folklore, of Black folklore, where the individual goes off, achieves some sense of mystical power or just knowledge or just experience, comes back and then either imparts or completely destroys the place that they came from because of the negative experiences they encountered in that place.
Oh man, I mean, from Rumi to Sun Ra, I mean, it's giving me visions of even like the Tupac story. It's like so many narratives that are all locked into one from just, like this simple depiction of, and the story. I mean, the story gives it so much. The title of the painting gives it so much more to think about.
Yeah.
But I did read that, Sun Ra and Rumi introduction somewhere in the statement. I was just like, that's heavy. That gives like the piece just so many more layers. And I love, paintings that just kind of reveal more the more you get familiarized with it. And Jupiter Redding is definitely one of those pieces. I'm not even going to try and say the full title because I know I'm going to mess it up.
Like, I mean, and the full title is more for myself. You know what I'm saying? Like just to, because that was the story that created the image. So it's almost like I thought about the story first. And then it was like Jupiter Redding returned. What would Jupiter Redding look like? Returned endowed with everything this world denied them. And so I was like, oh, snaps. Yeah, that's it. That's it. I'm gonna get Jupiter Redding to come and it's gonna look like, this person just sat down to take like a class photo. You know what I'm saying? Like just full of the universe. Like just sits down.
That's like the amazing story I get even in my imagination of like a Black person denied being a star here in America when they had all the talent in the world. Paul Robeson, for example, W.B. Du Bois, but then going to the universe, not being able to be a star here on Earth, going to the universe, obtaining all of the stars within them and returning, and like you said, either destroying or enlightening.
Or whatever it is, they're tearing something down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
something's going to change.
Yeah, exactly. But he said, "I'm leaving with something.
I'm leaving with something."
Yeah, exactly. So that's it. That's it. And a lot of my public work, specifically, I move with that level of intention because it's important to me. It's important to me to put that out in the world.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cool. What is the name of it? Dance Mission Theater. I love the piece and that whole series of the portrait faces with the flowers. I'll let you get into it. I love, giving my take on the piece, but then being corrected by the artist. So
you've been spot on this whole time. So
well, I feel like even with art, especially when it becomes public art, it's so objective. It can be, like I've heard people give interpretations of some of our artwork, and I'm like, that is so far off. But if that's how you perceive it, I can see how you derived or got to that realization. You know what? Run with it. That's but that piece over at the Dance Mission Theater, I love it for so many reasons. Its size. There's a little I'm gonna say inslot in the middle of the lady's chest or something where you put like a floral pattern in it. Like just the play and just like what's gonna go inside of there? Just the problem solving that murals can, make you take on. What was your inspiration behind? Because I also saw something like that over at African American Arts and Culture. Did you do a mural over there? Or I saw like a residency.
I did an artist residency there back.
Amazing. Shout out to the twins.
Indeed. I love the AAACC.
Oh man,
They do great things.
they do.
Really
They helped BAMP get to where BAMP is. We did so many projects, motivated, inspired, funded by AAACC.
Yeah,
So, shout
definitely
outs
big
to
up.
the twins.
Definitely
Melanie
big up.
Malore
Yeah,
have
to the
inspired
twins.
and
Yes.
helped us tremendously.
Yeah, and they're such good people.
They're great people.
Yo, like such good people. So 2015, I'm at the artist residence. And this is my first like deep dive into AAACC, right? No, 2015. Did I say 2010?
15.
2015. And then fast forward, the twins reach out and they're like, we're talking about the new vision of the AAACC,
Yeah.
right? This is coming out of COVID, and me and Malore are talking, and the prompt Black opulence
Mm-hmm.
comes up, and so we both decide that's the thematic structure that this piece is going to take on. And so I work on a lot of designs. What is opulence? What is Black opulence, right? What do we perceive as opulence? And so I started thinking about embellishments. How do we embellish ourselves? How do we put on certain things to make us feel that opulence, regalness, regality? And so I didn't want to do the jewelry, the gold chain. You know what I'm saying? Like not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that I didn't want that.
We've all done it.
Yeah, to feel like that's the only way we could talk about opulence. Right. You know what I'm saying? And also too, I wanted something again that goes back to the natural world, right? In relationship to all of my public work, I want that relationship between humanity and the natural world to be a part of it. So I'm thinking about these things, and then I hear, and a lot of my ideas come from my personal experiences with family. I love my family. They have been the greatest critics and supporters in my life. You know, I'm from St. Louis, so everybody feels like they're a critic. They're a master at everything that somebody else is doing, and they just want to give you their input, right? So my mom for years was been like, "How come you ain't drawing no flowers?" You know what I'm saying? Like, how come you ain't drawing flowers? Flowers are pretty. You need to put some flowers in your work. Years and years and years. So I was like, okay, all right, I hear you, mama. Let me start moving with flowers. Let me start moving with the beauty of the natural world and adorn that. And so that was step one. Step two was how do I depict regality within Blackness? And I started thinking about that book by at the time it was Leroy Jones, but Amiri Baraka, right? Mm-hmm. The blues people.
Yeah.
The blues people. Like, what does that mean? And then literally blue, deep tones of indigo. Mm-hmm. And I started thinking about this painting my grandmother had in her house about this really beautiful woman that was green toned with the big earrings and a brown background and everything. And I started, there's many different ways to depict Blackness. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then that, because that's a whole different conversation. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so those things came together, and I wanted something that was damn near over the top. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Just filled with flowers and over the top beauty and over the top strength. Like, just you look at it and that's what hits you.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's where those ideas came from. And I was talking to a person and we had this wonderful conversation, but she was just like, thank you for reminding me of my own beauty. You know, and that's what I really go for. I've been even, it was funny enough, but we're not, but I've been noticing that sometimes it's like, it's not over the top. It's just the right amount, because we've been told for so long that any gesture of our beauty, You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, so it's like,
You
no,
tucked it in.
yeah. So, and we're used to like, but we're used to it fitting that form.
Mhm.
And when it doesn't fit that form, oh, we can't do it. It's too much.
Yeah.
It's too much. Tone it back, dial it in. Whoa, right? So, and then and having that conversation, I realized, no, it's not over the top.
Mhm.
It's just the right amount.
It's what people need.
Yeah.
Like even if you go and look at images, even travel through Africa, you will see so much over the topness, in terms of like dress and regalness and even gold chains in Ghana and their like that it's just enough for what people need in terms of, motivation, inspiration, you know, to prove points, some of it's feeding ego, but it does all of these things as opposed to distract or make you feel less than
Yeah, a render invisible or destroy your sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
Like, so like it's and in my opinion, that shit's over the top. Like, you know what I'm saying?
talking
Like,
down to somebody to make yourself feel so powerful.
that's
is
over the top. Yeah, exactly.
And I feel
exactly.
like you're like you're doing an amazing thing and just like giving people food for thought, but also reimagining and redefining, terms that are so embedded into our culture, like what is over the top and like how we utilize it.
Especially when I'm thinking about my work and what I want to say with my work. You know what I'm saying? And I even called my mom. I said, "Mama, I finally gave you those flowers."
Those flowers.
But in a lot of ways, she was really onto something.
It's so important, and I think in a lot of ways, because I wrestled with it as well too, as a Black man in America, Black artist. What am I saying with my artwork? And I heard a speech from Winnie Mandela that was so motivating, where she was like, it was like 40 years in the revolution, standing next to Nelson Mandela and trying to prove that we were equal or just enough, that she didn't realize that she loved sewing and colors until she was a grandma, because it was always trying to prove that she was Black enough and revolutionary enough and that she didn't even have the time to figure out what makes her tick or what. So I feel like even as Black artists or Black men in America, or speaking for myself, I didn't get into painting flowers early in my art career because I felt like I had to say something pro-Black, or I had to say something for the unheard voice, and flowers ain't really it. And as a young Black man in America, I didn't feel the beauty of putting flowers in. There were other social justice issues, or even for me, I got into like wanting to paint a whole bunch of African scenes because I was like, what is this Africa that people are talking? Okay, there's kings in Africa. Let me study Africa, and before I travel there, how can I paint images that will empower me and make me feel like, oh yeah, Black people's feeling proud. So I feel like there are tools, as our artistry that really help us just kind of like even navigate to reach the levels of being able to help other people see themselves.
It's in a lot of ways, likewise to that, it had to be hip hop. It had to have a flair. You got to fit in. You can't stand out. You can't
Flowers ain't hip hop.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know what shit you talking about. I don't know what that is. You know what I'm saying? Like people, and it comes from because oftentimes we're taught to respect anger and frustration.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like and in a lot of ways, I had to unlearn a lot of those things that I learned in terms of not everything requires a hammer.
Right.
It's
not always about power. Sometimes it's grace.
Yeah. And then and that's where the trickster comes in a lot of times, and not so much of depicting the trickster, but thinking about how to subvert ideas that are no longer serving you, ideas that you see. How do you talk to them without giving them power?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because we have to be in conversation with something, but we could either be in conversation and blindly reinforce the very thing that we think we're talking down,
Right.
we're chanting down, or we could be in conversation with that thing, but move towards the other side of it, right?
Or stepping over it.
Exactly,
as we talk
to get to
Our
the real
goal,
thing.
yeah.
If we're talking about representation, I'm not going to talk about the lack of representation. I'm going to create something that reinforces the beauty that I see in the void of representation.
Right.
You know, so like that, that's it. And sometimes that's the hardest stuff to me now. You know what I'm saying? That's that you know, like to sit down and have conversations with people while you're working, and they talk openly about their experiences, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful because it's deepening even my own experience.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's me working on these pieces. Yeah.
And understanding.
Mhm.
Yeah. So speaking of flowers, how did you choose the flowers for some of those pieces? I mean, does that series have a name?
I did, so shout out to my homie Coltrane. We called him Train because in high school he was just a monster on the courts, right? Like so, but he's also one of the most poetically gifted singers coming out that I've grown up with. So he has this song, and one of the lines was, "Our diet is fireflies." And so I started thinking about, as a kid in St. Louis, we would capture lightning bugs and
Put 'em in a
fireflies
jar.
in a jar, right?
I grew up in Virginia.
Yeah, see, so and it'd be swarms of them, and that was some of the most magical nights. Just
Mhm.
simple, you know what I'm saying? You got a jar, you poke a hole in it, and like stuff some weaves in there.
Make sure
yeah,
they can live.
yeah.
You created an environment to where they
Yeah,
didn't die, but they still lit up.
Well, for at least about 3 days.
That was my brother to see how long he could keep them. I let him go after. I was like, they ain't gonna light up after day 2.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because which is
It's
the
part of the
things
experiment. You gotta learn.
and things in captivity don't light up.
Bottom line, full circle.
You know what I'm saying? Like, but yeah, I died as fireflies. So like, I started really thinking about my own sense of wonderment and experiencing capturing fireflies, because that was feeding us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like that was feeding us, our imagination,
Yeah.
our joy, our childhood spirit. And so the flowers, a lot of them are just purely visual. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't really think too deeply about the meaning of flowers, like in terms of each flower has a specific meaning and things like that. It's more of an overall visual, like just smorgasbord for me.
Yeah.
Like, this is a beautiful moment right here. Let me take this, put this over here. Let me take this, put this over here, and then see how it all comes together.
Yeah.
Because I think the totality of the image is what I'm going for.
Mhm.
And I really don't want to sit down and explain what each individual like I don't think anybody really like.
Sometimes people don't, but since I moved to California over 12 years ago, I've gotten into succulents and certain flowers that we just couldn't grow over on the East Coast. I sit there and watch go for like 5, like over on the East Coast, because the winter's coming. Like you get a season, it's got to be harvested or it's going to die outside. Over here, I'm sitting there watching plants. I'm watching lavender
Year
live
round
for like 20 years. I'm just like, damn, that's a big ass lavender tree. So with that, I was just, some people are really into flowers. I've gotten into succulents since so I wasn't sure if there was any specific flowers actually in that piece. But you speak about St. Louis. Painting in St. Louis versus painting in the Bay. Do you have any preferences, or do you have any distinct moments that stand out to your to where I'm like, man?
Yeah. So I do a lot of work from back home. It's important to me, right?
Mhm.
So I do murals in St. Louis, and I would say the only real difference is you in St. Louis. You just got to choose what season you painting. You know what I'm saying? Because I did some winter times, and I'm like, yo, this is
Brutal.
yo. It was like the Reverend out there, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it was like water freezing, paint freezing. You know what I'm saying? Like you really got to pick your time frame. Um, story wise, painting wise, I probably have more crazy stories about painting on the streets in San Francisco.
Talk about it.
I mean, yeah, so okay. So I was doing this mural off of Golf and Page, and it's of the profile of these two black women. This is one of the earliest murals that I did out here, and so I'm learning, right?
Mhm.
I'm learning. I'm trying to figure out the games. I did the grid system. Took me 2 weeks to redraw it.
The
The
grid
grid
or
system with the grid
yeah,
system. You know what I'm
not
saying? Like,
squiggle grid, just the regular
yeah,
grid.
L the T square drew out all
See,
the
you telling on your
lines.
age once
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
Brad. Like these youngsters don't even do that no more.
Yo, but it's necessary, like
Yeah.
to learn it all.
You got to
to
go
learn
through
it
the
all.
whole
Yeah.
process. Yeah.
So it took me 2 weeks to transfer this over, and I finally get to paint. I'm so proud of myself, right? So proud of myself. I'm like, all right, I got everything laid out. And I think she's Algerian because of her accent. But she's definitely North African, right?
Mhm.
And I don't want to say her name or blow her up or anything like that. But for the duration of that period, she's giving me grief every day. She lets me know she does not like this mural, bro.
I've had a few of those
every day,
in the
right?
earlies.
Comes by. I think she just got up just to rain on my parade sometimes. I'm like,
But
yo,
she gave you permission. Did you have
no,
to do a
no,
sketch?
this wasn't even her wall.
Oh,
She's just mobbing by. Yo, she's just like, yeah, exactly.
one
So
of those.
yeah. And so I'm just like, all right, this is just what it is, right? So I finally finish. I'm proud. She comes by. This is terrible. You need to erase it. This looks like shit. Blah blah blah. Whoop-de-whoop. And though, so fast forward 10 years, almost 10 years later, I'm back at that same spot, doing a new piece, and I see the same lady. This is wonderful. Oh my God, this is great. This is so much better than the crap that was there before.
It was your piece there before.
Yeah. And I didn't have the heart to tell her, like, I'm the same person, but I was just like, thank you. I guess I got better, right?
That's the only conclusion.
That's it.
Combination. I feel like you probably got better, but also I feel like her outlook probably got more universal.
It definitely could be. It definitely could be. But it was just one of those things. I was like, life's a trip.
Yeah.
Like, that's funny. That's funny. I just laughed. I said, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I didn't even have the heart to tell her, like, for a month you gave me grief. You're like,
It's one of those, the universe talking to you to where it's like you can argue with her if you want to, but it's like arguing with the universe.
yeah.
The universe just has to show you certain things in a certain timing, and you just have to be ready to accept it and be like, oh,
That's it.
that's what I learned from this. That
Yeah.
was the silver lining.
I come from a spot, we call it the show me state. So it's like everybody, people they don't really care about what you say you do. It's like they want to see what you do,
Yeah.
right? And then they'll give you their opinion, even if it's unsolicited, about what you're doing. So I was pretty used to it. I was just like, all right, that's cool. But I just found it funny that she was like, this is so much better than the shit that was there before. I said, yo. I said,
And as a public artist, you have to be ready for the criticism.
oh,
you gotta
indeed,
be ready for
indeed.
the highs and lows.
Especially on street level.
Yeah.
I tell people they like, oh, why do you like painting up high? And I'm like, because I'm not on the street. You know what I'm saying? like you being on the street, I've been damn near implicit in murder plots, painting on the street, just somebody just talking about killing somebody right next to me, and I'm just like, I can't leave. This person just posts up, And whatever they on, and that's where their mind goes. And I'm just like, bro, I can't listen to you literally like lay out a murder plot in earshot of me, bro.
Now you trying to make me an accomplice.
Yo, exactly.
Much less
Just
a witness.
just by doing my work.
Damn.
So that's the thing about
Street level.
Yeah, street. You know,
you have to engage. You have to be ready for
you're on the street.
Yeah.
You're on the street, and whatever that entails for that day at that moment, that's what you're moving with. And you still have to focus, create your work, right? But you also have to engage.
Yeah.
I don't think it's healthy to not engage.
It's not. I've had friends that have tried to go that route, and it builds animosity as well too,
Yeah.
or it builds that, oh, you think you better than me type of.
And which
and street level murals, the other part too, for all those artists aspiring to do murals out in the world, street level murals, you have to engage with the community because you want that mural to last as long as possible. If you give shade or negative energy to that community, they're going to wait for you to pack up your stuff before they bomb it, before they throw some paint or ketchup or whatever it is, so, you got to tread lightly, even if it is your own neighborhood or community. It's not just your block. So you have to be ready to engage.
No, seriously. Because even with the dance mission, I love that was one of my favorite street level.
I love that piece.
Because like I had so many OGs come up to me and just talk about their story in life, right? This one cat, what did he say? Oh yeah, he gave them the dopest reason why. He says, "My name is OG Turtle, because I beat the hair." I said already, bro. Like, you gonna be
on
my
so many levels.
Yeah. He's like, I give you permission to paint this. I like this. Yeah. And I was like, yo, thank you, brother. Yeah. Shout out to OG Turtle, bro. Like, cause I mean, like that's also a part of painting murals.
Yeah.
That's also a part is hearing the stories, absorbing the stories, being a part and being able to be a vessel for other people's stories. And also I would say is a good indicator. The more interaction you have, the more is that means that piece is speaking to people.
I will second that notion because a lot of times when it's just crickets, as an artist with your back turned to the general public, you're wondering, does anybody even like this? Is it nobody, not to feed the ego, but a part of it is egotistical as well too, is that, at least one, oh, I like that.
Right.
Or, hey, that's nice. Thank you. I mean, sometimes it doesn't even have to be long conversations, but just an acknowledgement of, the work you're doing helps to motivate you.
Indeed.
And then the stories from the elders, we did a mural in the Fillmore, right there at the Rosa Parks Center. And I mean, all of because it's a senior center, all the elders came out. I mean, to the point to where sometimes we couldn't even work for a day just because we had so many stories we had to listen to. But we had to give them ear time. We had to, just because they were going to be the ones engaging in this mural for the rest of their time there. And we wanted to make sure that they, genuinely took ownership of the mural and felt like they loved that piece. It was funny. We put some, it's still there today, put some Chinese writing in a protest scene on the mural. And me, Rachel Wolf, Timothy B., we were working on it. And we were writing out the Chinese letters. We found, they were actually from the protest, but they were a little hazy because it was like a 1970s Asian protest. So the photo was a little hazy. So we were going off of what we saw in the photo. And there was a few Asian elders that were going to the senior center and they were walking by. And we had our backs and we weren't really, looking at them. But we were waiting to hear, oh, yes. We didn't get any of that. After like the 40th person had walked by, 'cause I guess they were going there for a little meeting. We were like, all right, we got to stop somebody. Does this read correctly?
Right.
And they were like, almost. But this one little line could mean a whole different meaning. And you have to change this and maybe change this. We made these two little small minor changes. And no lie, the next 10, 20 people, Asian, Chinese, Mandarin readers that walk by were like, oh, love it. I remember that. Instantly. And we were just like, that's what we were. And that's why it's important to, if you're doing special pieces that are tributes or have,
Mhm.
you know, go and do as much research and homework and try and get, feedback from that community before just painting what you think something is.
No, that's great advice. That's great advice. That's great advice because you could be walking around thinking that you did, and that's also too. It's like you're in a lot of ways like you're in service
Yeah,
of that space,
yeah,
and you need to respect like who is using that space.
right.
And no, that's a beautiful story. And like you were saying, just something that's
Something
simple.
that's small, because it was one
Yeah.
of the members in the senior center who had asked us to put that protest in it. So we were patting
Mhm.
ourselves on the back when we found the imagery. We were like, okay, they're gonna love it. But they didn't give us the proper writing of the
Mhm.
spelling of the Mandarin. And we were like, okay, we needed to go an extra step further and make sure and check with
Mhm.
somebody who actually knows. So,
No, that's
it's
real.
always good to take those little extra
Oh
steps.
yeah, being humble,
Yeah.
in your approach.
Uh,
I can't speak on that enough. You
we
know.
have a few minutes left. We're gonna wrap up soon, but I wanted to, get you to have a conversation with our canvas here.
Oh yeah,
But
yeah,
quick, maybe last question. What do you prefer, murals or studio canvas painting?
yeah. No preference.
No preference?
No. Even when I do murals, I hit the studio when I work.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. For me, the murals are what I call my public art project.
Mm-hmm. It's an
And
extension of the
yeah,
studio.
yeah, yeah. It's an extension, and then it has its own terms that you know what I'm saying that I've highlighted and
Mm-hmm.
structured in order to move in that vein. And the studio work has its another set of terms,
Yeah.
but there's some overlap and things like that. But I don't have a preference. I'm definitely thankful for both practices and being able to sustain both practices
Mm-hmm.
sincerely. Yeah, yeah.
Definitely. And do you sell your work, or do you make prints, and where can people find them?
I do make prints. I will be. I've done 3 editions of limited edition prints. So every time I do a print run, um, I do about I try to do no more than 50
Okay.
on super high quality paper, archival inks, and all that because because I want these things to feel like the collector's
Yeah.
pieces, right? And so I usually just put it out on social media
Okay.
that I'm selling these prints and things of that nature. Yeah.
You got anything out now, or what's the next project you got coming up?
I'll be working with the Hospitality House. Shout out to the Hospitality House. I'll be doing a mural on their building, the one off of Turk Street.
Nice.
Also too, I'll be doing a series of 4 workshops at the AAACC that is geared towards Black creatives in not just San Francisco, but Bay Area as well, that are interested in how to create murals from A to Z. That
Dope.
means how to pitch for clients, how to create the mock-up, how to prep the space.
When is that?
This will be mid September.
Okay.
I'll begin that. And then there'll also be an opportunity to create that mural in a parking lot at the AAACC.
Mhm.
And so I really, because there's always these conversations about creative retainment in the Bay.
Yeah.
And oftentimes I feel like a lot of that information that is needed is kind of gatekept.
Right.
And so this series of workshops is to put that information out, and they're all going to be free.
Sweet. Is there a sign
courses.
up for it?
I'll be putting that sign up out in the world, and I'll be reaching out to folks that know people that would be like, this person could really benefit from this information.
Definitely. We'll
So
definitely spread the word and
yeah,
let people know.
yeah. So I'm super excited about that. It'll last until another workshop's going to be portfolio development.
Sweet.
What other art? Well, how to get you if you're looking to go to galleries. How do you present your portfolio, how to get your, and the other one's going to be a life drawing class, because I still think that still lifes are probably some of the greatest ways that a young artist can get
study.
strong drawing skills, and they don't have to go to school. They can just set up a pile of shoes and draw those shoes.
I
right?
found that was so when I went to art school, I went to VCU. I hated still lifes because I realized I didn't like the subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
Once I changed the subject matter and started using my own subject matter,
Mm-hmm.
I was more drawn to paint and even study the objects and the shapes because it was a Sade album cover mixed with some dominoes and a little Ethiopian plate that like. So all these things made me like, okay, all right, how do I draw a circle to make it look
Exactly.
it really helped dial things in.
And you could do it. You could do it on your own. You
Yeah.
could set it up. You don't have to have a lot of space. You don't have to have a lot of resources to do this, and it'll hone your skills. So it'll be a life drawing class.
Yeah.
And then the last one, what's the last one? Oh, submitting to the San Francisco Art SFAC, the San Francisco Arts Commission. Navigating their portal, how to become
is a job within itself. So that is a helpful tool. I'm gonna definitely be in that class.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Because it's serious. Like a lot, and so if you don't, and it's gonna be what's a mock-up? How do you design your mock-up? How do you talk about it? How do you know what I'm saying? Like all these things.
All the navigating.
Yeah. So just trying to put the information back out there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Well, I'm gonna get some water. Do you need a bigger brush than the one that's there?
No, I'll be. No, I should be all right.
All right, so you can go ahead and get started. These are gonna be some stumpers. These are gonna make you think. These are gonna be the toughest questions of the whole interview. If you could paint a mural anywhere in the world, or a painting, gallery, where in the world would it be and why?
Oh, no, that's a good question. Off rip, mural, Mexico City. Because the history of murals in the intersection of speaking to history, Diego Rivera, Roscoe, I feel like they created the modern artist, the storyteller, as a person that's in service. So I would just love to be in conversation with those folks. And mural in Mexico City.
Great answer. Next one. Between the Paints album. When did that drop? Is it Between the Paintings? Between the Paintings album.
Oh.
When did that drop?
Between the Paintings album.
That's you, right?
Yeah.
I found that album this morning. And I was like, I gotta ask him, because of course I know you as an artist, painter.
Yeah.
But then when I heard the lyrics, I was like, oh, my guy spits.
Yeah.
Tone Oliver. Like Tone Oliver, everybody knows him for his podcast, but my guy has lyrics.
Okay.
Videos and the whole nine.
EP, Tone Oliver, like you go by Tone Oliver, right? I got you on Spotify, right? Yeah. Okay, the Tone Oliver EP, right? What is?
I have an album called Pluto, album called FTP, but I am an artist on Spotify.
Okay, I believe, because it's undertone. Yo, so that's funny. Oddly enough, that's really funny. Yeah. But so I came up in St. Louis, loving hip hop, doing, and I was even a part of this hip hop group called KTC, Confusion to Creation. It was me, NATO. Shout out to NATO. Rest in peace to my homie Cam. He passed, and then our DJ Scratch and Sniff. Right. So in high school, I was all about the innocent, I was all about graffiti. I was all about, that's what I'm saying. If it ain't hip hop, I wasn't about it. Right. And then painting and art began to take center stage. And so instead of waking up thinking about rhymes or lyrics, I started thinking about paintings. And so I just followed that. So the Between the Paintings album was done in St. Louis between several murals I was doing out there. And my homie Rob was like, man, you might as well just record something while you paint because you already rapping to yourself when you paint. So it makes sense. You know what I'm saying? To just go ahead and so that whole album, I didn't write a thing to that album. That's literally in between me going from mural to mural. I would literally just lay down 5 minutes worth of me just freestyle.
Right. And I saw the tracks are labeled freestyle, and they feel relevant to today. But I could tell there's like this gritty, grimy. I'm like, those ain't recorded in San Francisco. It's a different type of grime in those lyrics right there.
Nah, that was St. Louis. Recorded at the Screwed Art Studio, Southside St. Louis, off of Cherokee Street. One take, you know what I'm saying, type things, and then and so that and I didn't really put too much. That's why I was just like, this was done between paintings.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna call it Between Paintings. I don't even have a title for none of this. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. It's a dope little project, and even shout out to just leaving documentation of early work. I was having this conversation with my boys and telling them like, nowadays, if you find or hear an artist and you can't go pull up like some of their previous songs that they didn't have the millions of dollars behind, some of their previous concerts that only had like 5 or 10 people in the crowd and they kind of stumble. If you can't find like proof of just like them putting in that work, more than likely they an industry plant, which I'm not, everybody has their purpose, but at the same time, like how serious do you take this person in their craft? Yeah.
No, and that's real because you're gonna leave breadcrumbs.
You got to.
Because there's no way, if you don't have the breadcrumbs, if you don't have the trail that shows your development, that shows that you paid your dues in any craft, in anything.
Yeah.
Nothing exists in a vacuum and nothing good came from folks that didn't make terrible mistakes that will be recorded forever, exactly. Right? That are written in stone. Exactly. There was one time, forgot my whole set. And I'm performing with some heavy cats on the local scene, and I can't remember a lyric, and it's recorded.
And nobody wants those documentations or those proofs of it happening, but I feel like it's important just so that you can appreciate people's growth. And that wraps up another episode of Urban Artist Talk with our guest, Christopher Burch, aka Goya Goon. I hope you watch this podcast in its entirety. Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for the next video.
Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk. Give me the paint, give me the chalk, give me the urban artist talk.